Les Brooks runs shoots in Buckinghamshire. Born a cockney, he does not so much call a spade as a bloody shovel, and that has landed him in trouble.
4 policemen come banging at the door. I thought they were bringing the door down, to be honest, but they were big police officers. 3 of them was anyway. And so I answered the door, and the big guy at the front said to me, "You're under arrest for..." "Are you Leslie Brooks?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "You're under arrest for breach of the peace." So I haven't breached any peace, I don't know what you're talking about. He said, "I went to my ex-wife's house," which was wrong, "and abused her boyfriend," which was wrong. They got it wrong. It was an altercation I had with my son-in-law, not my ex-wife at all. And then 2 officers wanted to take my guns. And the first officer said he wanted to handcuff me, and I said, "No, you can't do that. I've got my 10-year-old son here. He's crying his eyes out." The 2 officers then started taking the guns. The other 2 officers wanted to take me away, and I said, "Well, hang on, what's happening with my son?" They said, "Well, we've got his mum's number." I said, "But his mum, you don't know if she's available." So anyway, I got my son to call his mum, and his mum was coming over. 2 officers then took me to the police station, and the other 2 stayed here with my son, which I didn't think was very good because he was in tears, he was very upset.
Les takes me to Milton Keynes police station, where the police took him that night. But there seemed to be a problem. The police wouldn't take him into the building.
We waited outside in the car park there for about 30 minutes, and then we went inside, just on the left there, where you go into the custody thing. Kept me there then for 3 hours.
So indoors or outdoors?
Outdoors. Outdoors.
Leaning on a wall like this one?
Yeah, basically just a wall just in there. So so we sat there with 2 officers for 3 hours. I'm sure they probably had better things to do, but we sat there for 3 hours. I refused my blood pressure pills, and refused to go into the toilet till right at the very end. They said that they was processing other people and that the custody sergeant was changing shifts. Eventually the custody sergeant come out, looked at the offence that I was supposed to have done, and said, "There's nothing to answer for. Take this man home. This is a Section 5 public order offence at worst. Let the guy take him up." And I wasn't taken into a cell. I wasn't admitted into custody. They just said, "Let him go."
Les returned home to find empty gun cabinets.
Obviously, they took everything. There's nothing left. A couple of cleaning kits, but that's about it.
While he'd been at the station, and while they were looking after his son, the police had taken Les's guns. If the police actions seemed muddled up to that point, they got worse. First of all, they took down his gun details wrong. Then, like so many gun grab victims, Les had to wait to find out the police's reasons for their actions. It boiled down to poor relations between Les and his daughter.
They said the officer in charge would contact me. And then the officer come round. I was chasing them for 8 weeks because obviously I wanted to get my guns back. Eventually the officer in charge came round and offered me a fixed penalty notice. I didn't have a clue what a Section 5 public order offence was. I know there's a big campaign from, I think it's Rowan Atkinson, to do away with it because it curtails freedom of speech. He come round, offered me a fixed penalty notice, and at first I said, no, I refused it. I said, well, why am I going to accept that? I swore, that's all I'd done, was tell my son-in-law to tell my daughter to wind her neck in with a few swear words. And so he went off, and then he come back a week later, and I said, fine, after taking legal advice, I said, I'll accept the fixed penalty notice. They said it shouldn't really affect your firearms licence because it's the most lowest offence you can possibly do. And it was a 90 quid fine.
Les has had a shotgun and firearm certificate for decades. The latest renewal by Thames Valley Police was in January 2024. It was an incident with his son-in-law in the summer that led to the police raiding his house.
My daughter's basically, because I spoke to one of their ex-boyfriends, decided to disown me. My eldest daughter then rallied round to some family members, one of them being my 87-year-old mum, and the other, my sister, is 64 or 65, whose husband is unfortunately terminally ill. When she didn't get the support from them, she turned nasty and started abusing my mum and my sister, bad text messages and phone calls. And they didn't tell me the extent of how bad it was, but I think it was pretty bad. Otherwise, they would have told me. Anyway, so I bumped into her husband, and I said to him, this was a few months later, I said, listen, tell that your arse of a wife to wind her neck in, stop abusing family members, stop telling lies about me, and just pack it up, basically. I shouldn't be telling off my 40-year-old daughter, should I? But what do you do? Anyway, so this was outside their house. I was in my car, he was in his car, and I spoke to him through the passenger window. There was long distance between us, so there was no threats made or anything violent at all. I swore too much, but Cockney heritage, that's what we do. So I did, I swore quite a lot. And when they showed me the transcript of their Ring doorbell, the police, I thought, yeah, that was a bit sweary, that's a bit too much for me. And I did use the C word, but, so it's part of my inheritance, unfortunately. So, yeah, and then next thing, 8 days later, the police banged me door in.
It is fair to say that Les has had his ups and downs with the police in the past.
As I said, I've got one of the farms I've got is a 1,000-acre farm. Beautiful farm, 11 blocks of woodland. Especially during COVID, people were just walking wherever they wanted to. And it's written into my lease that I have to tell people to stick to the footpaths, because at one point it was just people, before I took on the farm, people wandering wherever they wanted to. So the locals had a little bit of the ump about it, because all of a sudden they were restricted where they can walk, but there's a myriad of footpaths on the estate anyway. So there was a couple, and I told them to stick to the footpaths. They called the police, said that I was rude to them. The police attended. The police said that I wasn't rude and I had no guns with me, and that all I was doing was telling people to stick to the footpaths for safety reasons, because there's shooting on the estate. And that was it.
There was some historic stuff over the divorce.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, so normal divorcey stuff, really. The wife made accusations, and she's not a British national, so she tends to phone the police at every given opportunity. But she made some accusations against me, but totally unfounded. I've never been charged with anything at all. Anybody that knows me knows that it was all fabricated. Her attempt to try and get what's called an indefinite leave to remain visa in the UK. So when I renewed in January 2024, when my licence was up for renewal, the police asked her if she's got any objection, and she said no, she don't see no objection at all to me holding guns.
Now, of course, gun safety is paramount, but the delays and mistakes prior to his appeal are affecting Les's work as a shoot operator.
I mean, this is what I do for a living. I take people shooting for a living. It's written into my lease on one of the farms that I have to keep down vermin. Some people will pay for pigeon shooting these days, but most people aren't going to pay to go out shooting squirrels and rabbits. So it's jobs I have to do. If I can't do that job, then I'm in breach of my lease. So, and yeah, I've had times in the last few months where we've got a lot of Chinese water deer and muntjac, where I've had foreign clients come over, and I've had to get friends to guide them, which is obviously I've had to pay them.
Whatever Les did in the past, Thames Valley renewed his certificates in January 2024, which is well after the round of Home Office guidance demanding tight restrictions on certificates. It looks like, in this case, we have a gun certificate holder who has lost his guns for swearing.
They can bring up historic stuff, but if I hadn't swore on that day, I hadn't bumped into my son-in-law that day, then I'd still have my licence.
The message from Thames Valley Police: if you want a gun certificate, keep it clean.